The shuttle moved slowly through the darkness of space. Inside, Ambassador Park Do-yoon looked through the small window at the massive station ahead. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The Valith Empire had constructed it from the bones of a dead moon, and it floated in the void like a metal mountain. Do-yoon was 53 years old. His hair had turned gray at the temples, and deep lines marked his face from years of difficult negotiations. He had spent his life talking to people who did not want to listen. Warlords, dictators, men who believed that power came only from the barrel of a gun. He had convinced many of them to choose peace instead. But he had never spoken to aliens before. Yu Minji sat beside him, reviewing data on her tablet. She was young, only 28, but her mind was sharp. She had memorized everything known about the Valith Empire in just 3 weeks. Their history, their customs, their weaknesses. The Emperor will try to intimidate you, she said quietly. Their culture respects only strength. If you show fear, they will see it as an invitation to attack. Do-hyun nodded slowly. I have faced men like that before. They are all the same, whether they have 2 legs or 6. Behind them, Captain Han Sayoko checked his weapon for the 10th time. He was the head of the security team, a former soldier who had fought in the last great war on Earth. His face was hard, and his eyes never stopped moving. He did not trust this mission. He did not trust aliens. But he trusted Do-hyun, and that was enough. Remember, Sayoko said, we cannot fight our way out if things go wrong. We have 12 people. They have thousands. Then, we must make sure things do not go wrong. Do-hyun replied with a small smile. The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. The doors opened and cold air rushed in. It smelled strange, like metal and something sweet that Dai-heng could not identify. Valith guards stood waiting for them. They were tall creatures, nearly 3 meters high, with hard shells covering their bodies like armor. Their eyes were large and black, showing no emotion. Each one carried a weapon that hummed with energy. One of them stepped forward. Its voice came out in clicks and hisses, but the translator device in Do-hyun's ear turned it into words. You are the humans. You will follow. The Emperor waits. They walked through endless corridors. The walls were decorated with images of conquest. Do-hyun saw pictures of burning cities, defeated armies, and species kneeling before Valith soldiers. It was a clear message. This empire had crushed many worlds. Earth could be next. Minji walked close to Do-hyun. They want us to be afraid, she whispered. I know, he replied. Let them think we are. The throne room was vast. Hundreds of Valith nobles filled the chamber, their shells clicking as they moved. At the center, on a platform raised high above the floor, sat Emperor Kethal. He was enormous. His shell was dark red, almost black, and covered with scars from ancient battles. His forearms rested on the sides of his throne, each one ending in claws that could tear through steel. When he looked down at the humans, his black eyes showed nothing but contempt. So, the Emperor spoke, his voice booming through the chamber. These are the creatures from the small blue world, the ones who have just learned to crawl between the stars. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Do-hyun stood still and waited for it to end. Great Emperor, he said, his voice calm and clear. I am Ambassador Park Do-hyun of the United Terran Coalition. I come in peace, seeking friendship between our peoples. The Emperor leaned forward. Friendship? The Valith do not have friends. We have subjects. We have slaves. And we have enemies whose bones decorate our halls. Which would you like to be? Do-hyun did not flinch. We would like to be trading partners. Earth has resources and technology that could benefit your empire. In return, we ask only for peaceful coexistence. The Emperor stared at him for a long moment. Then he laughed, a terrible sound like stones grinding together. You come to my throne. You stand before the ruler of 17 star systems, and you speak of trade? You should be on your knees, begging for mercy. My knees do not bend easily, Do-Yoon replied. The chamber went silent. Every Valeth turned to look at the human who had dared to speak back to their emperor. Minji felt her heart racing. Sioku's hand moved slowly toward his weapon. The emperor rose from his throne. He was even larger standing, a mountain of shell and muscle. He walked down the steps slowly, each footfall shaking the floor. You are brave, Kethal said, stopping directly in front of Do-Yoon. Or perhaps you are simply stupid. Your species is young. You do not understand how the galaxy works. Let me teach you. He turned to his guards. Seize them. The Valeth soldiers moved fast. Sioku tried to draw his weapon, but a guard struck him down before he could fire. The other humans were grabbed and forced to their knees. Only Do-Yoon remained standing, 2 guards holding his arms. I gave you a chance to kneel, the emperor said. You refused. Now you will learn what happens to those who defy the Valeth. He reached to his side and drew a blade. It was ancient, covered with symbols and stained dark with old blood. The ceremonial weapon of the Valeth emperors, used for 1,000 years to execute enemies. Do-Yoon looked at the blade, then at the emperor. He did not beg. He did not cry. He simply said, if you do this, you will regret it. My people do not forget. The emperor laughed. Your people are insects. By the time they learn what happened here, my fleet will be burning your cities. He raised the blade. Minji screamed. Sioku struggled against the guards holding him down. But there was nothing they could do. The blade fell. Ambassador Park Do-Hyun died on his feet, looking his killer in the eye. His blood spilled across the polished floor of the throne room, and the Valeth nobles cheered. The emperor kicked the body aside. Take the others to the cells. I want them alive. They will watch as we prepare the invasion of their world. But one guard made a mistake. He turned his back on Captain Han Sioku for just a moment. Sioku moved like lightning. He grabbed the fallen weapon of a guard, fired twice, and killed the soldiers holding Minji. In the chaos that followed, he grabbed her arm and ran. The ship, he shouted. We have to reach the ship. They ran through the corridors, alarms screaming around them. 3 other members of the security team joined them, having escaped in the confusion. Behind them, Valeth soldiers gave chase. They reached the shuttle bay. Sioku shot the guards at the door and pulled Minji inside. The shuttle's engines roared to life. We cannot leave without him, Minji cried, tears streaming down her face. He is dead, Sioku said, his voice hard. And if we do not leave now, we will be dead too. Then no one will know what happened here. The shuttle tore away from the station. Valeth fighters launched in pursuit, but the human pilot was skilled. She dodged and weaved through the debris field until they reached the jump point. In a flash of light, they were gone. Minji sat in the back of the shuttle, holding Do-Hyun's personal tablet. It contained his final message, recorded just before the meeting in case something went wrong. She played it, and his voice filled the small cabin. If you are hearing this, then I am dead. I knew the risks when I accepted this mission, but I believed that peace was worth any price. I was wrong. Some enemies cannot be reasoned with. They understand only force. Earth must learn this lesson, or it will share my fate. Do not mourn me. Do not forget me. And do not let my death be meaningless. The shuttle flew on through the darkness, carrying its survivors toward home. Behind them, the Valeth Empire celebrated its easy victory. They did not know what they had started. They would learn soon enough. The shuttle landed on Earth 3 days later. It came down in the middle of the night at a military base in the mountains of Korea. Rain was falling, and the wind howled through the darkness. But thousands of people were waiting. Yoonminji stepped off the shuttle first. Her face was pale, and her eyes were red from crying. Behind her, Captain Han Seokul carried a long metal box. Inside was the body of Ambassador Park Do-yeon, wrapped in the flag of the United Terran Coalition. Soldiers stood at attention. Officers saluted. And in the crowd, Admiral Cho Yoonbi watched in silence. She was 60 years old, with short gray hair and a face that showed no emotion. She had commanded Earth's defense fleet for 15 years. She had trained pilots, built ships, and prepared for a war she hoped would never come. Now that hope was dead, lying in a metal box carried by a broken captain, Eunbi had known Do-yeon. They had trained together 40 years ago, back when they were both young and the stars seemed full of promise. He had chosen diplomacy. She had chosen war. They had often argued about which path was better. She wished she could argue with him one more time. The funeral was held 3 days later. Millions watched on screens across the world. The leaders of every nation stood together as Do-hyun's body was placed in the earth. His wife wept. His children stood silent, too shocked to cry. And then the video was shown. The Valith had broadcast the execution to the entire galaxy, a warning to all species who might think of defying them. Now Earth saw it too. They saw their ambassador stand tall before the alien emperor. They heard his final words. They watched him die. When the video ended, there was silence. Then, slowly, a sound began to rise. It started in the crowd at the funeral, spread to the streets of Seoul, and then to every city on the planet. It was not screaming. It was not crying. It was a low, deep growl of rage. The United Terran Coalition met the next day. The great chamber in Geneva was full, every seat taken by the leaders of Earth's nations. They had come to decide humanity's fate. Fleet General Baek Ji-hoon stood at the podium. He was 70 years old, the oldest soldier still serving. He had fought in the last great war on Earth, the one that had finally united humanity. His body was covered with scars, and his left arm was mechanical, a replacement for the one he had lost in battle. "You have all seen the video," he began, his voice quiet but strong. "You have all heard the Emperor's words. He called us insects. He said our cities would burn. He laughed as he killed a man who came in peace." He paused, looking around the chamber. "Some of you will say we should seek more diplomacy, that we should try again to find a peaceful solution." He shook his head. "I understand that desire. I share it. Peace is always better than war. But peace requires two sides who want it. The Valith do not want peace. They want slaves. They want conquest. They want our children bowing before their thrones." He stepped away from the podium and walked to the center of the chamber. "We have a choice. We can hide. We can hope they forget about us. We can wait until their ships appear in our skies and their soldiers march through our streets." His voice grew harder. "Or we can show them that humanity is not prey. We can teach them that the price of our blood is too high to pay." Admiral Cho Yoonbi stood up. "General, our fleet is small. 60 ships against an empire of thousands. The mathematics are against us." Ji-hoon smiled, a cold expression that did not reach his eyes. "The mathematics were against us in every war we ever fought. Against disease. Against famine. Against each other. And yet, we survive. We adapt. We overcome." He pointed toward the ceiling. "Out there, the Valith believe they are the masters of creation. They have conquered weak species who gave up without a fight. They have never faced an enemy who would rather die than submit." He looked around the chamber one final time. "They killed our ambassador. They mocked our peace. They promised to burn our world. I say we give them an answer they will never forget. I say we go to war. The vote took less than an hour. One by one, the leaders of Earth's nations pressed their buttons. When it was done, the result appeared on the great screen above the chamber. Yes, 193. No, 0 humanity had chosen war. Admiral Cho Yunbi was given command of Operation Black Meridian. She stood in the war room deep beneath the mountains, surrounded by screens showing the positions of every human ship. 60 vessels, most of them small patrol craft designed to protect Earth from asteroids. A handful of cruisers. 2 carriers. Nothing that could stand against the Valith battle fleet. But Yunbi had a secret. For 20 years, the coalition had been building ships in the asteroid belt. Hidden factories carved into rocks, powered by captured sunlight, manned by crews who had sworn to keep the secret until death. The official fleet was a decoy. The real fleet had been waiting for a war everyone prayed would never come. "Show me what we have," Yunbi said. Chief Engineer Kang Yuna stepped forward. She was young, only 35, but she had designed most of the secret ships herself. Her eyes were bright with something between fear and excitement. 47 warships, she said, pulling up images on the screen, including 12 heavy cruisers and the Hammer of Soul. The image of a massive ship appeared. It was twice the size of anything else in the fleet, covered with weapons and armor. "This is our dreadnought," Yuna continued. "It carries a focused solar beam capable of cutting through any known shield technology. One shot can destroy a capital ship." Yunbi studied the image. "How many shots before it overheats?" 3. Then it needs an hour to cool down. Not ideal. "No, but those 3 shots will make them very afraid." Yunbi turned to another screen, where Lieutenant Commander Im Taiwan was waiting. He was the leader of the Fast Attack Squadron, 20 small corvettes designed for hit-and-run tactics. He was young, eager, and had never seen real combat. None of them had. "Taiwan, your squadron will be our scouts. You go in first, identify targets, and get out before they can respond. No heroics. No glory hunting. Understood?" He saluted. "Yes, Admiral." She looked around the room at the officers who would lead humanity into its first interstellar war. They were afraid. She could see it in their eyes. But they were also determined. They would not let Do Hyun's death be forgotten. "The Valith think we are weak," she said. "They think we will run and hide. They are wrong. We will strike fast, strike hard, and show them what happens when you wake a sleeping giant." She turned to the main screen, which showed the star map with Valith territory marked in red. "Our first target is the border outpost at Nexus 7. It is their closest military base to our space. Taking it will send a message and give us a forward position for future operations." Captain Han Seoku stepped into the room. He had been released from medical care that morning, his injuries treated, but his spirit still wounded. He had failed to protect his ambassador. He would not fail again. "Admiral," he said, "I want to be part of this." Yunbi looked at him. "You just survived an assassination. You should be resting. I will rest when the Emperor is dead." His voice was cold as ice. "I was there when they killed him. I watched and could do nothing. Let me do something now." Yunbi considered for a long moment. Then she nodded. "I have a special mission for you. Something that will require someone who has seen the enemy up close." She pulled up a file on the screen. "We need intelligence from inside Valith space. Ships, numbers, positions. Someone has to get close without being detected." "I volunteer," Seoku said without hesitation. "You will lead a team of 12. Stealth insertion, deep reconnaissance. If you are caught, we cannot rescue you. The mission must remain secret." "I understand." Yunbi extended her hand. "Then bring us what we need, Captain. And come back alive." Seoku shook her hand. "I will do my best. 3 weeks later, the human fleet began to move. The secret ships emerged from the asteroid belt, joining the official fleet in high orbit above Earth. News cameras captured the moment, broadcasting to the world. People watched from their homes, from offices, from crowded squares in every city. They saw 60 ships become over 100. They saw weapons they had never imagined. They saw their fleet ready for war. And across the planet, they began to cheer. Yoon Minji watched from the bridge of the command ship. She had been assigned as a tactical analyst, using her knowledge of the Valith to help plan attacks. It was not the job she had trained for. She had wanted to be a diplomat like Doyeon, but diplomacy had failed. Now she would help win a war. She held Do-yoon's medal in her hand, the one he had earned for ending a civil war on Mars without firing a shot. He had given it to her before the mission, saying he did not need luck, only patience. He had been wrong, but his death would not be meaningless. She would make sure of that. The fleet engaged its engines. One by one, the ships jumped to faster than light speed, vanishing in flashes of blue light. They were heading toward Nexus 7, toward the enemy, toward vengeance. The war had begun. The Valith outpost at Nexus 7 hung in space like a metal spider. It was built around a captured asteroid, with weapons platforms extending in all directions. 300 ships were stationed there, more than enough to crush any enemy foolish enough to attack. Commander Vethela sat in his control room, watching the stars. He was the Emperor's cousin, given this post as a reward for loyalty. He had never seen real combat. He had never needed to. The Valith had not faced a serious threat in 2 centuries. Their enemies always surrendered or died. "Commander," one of his officers said, "we are receiving reports of unusual energy readings at the edge of the system." Veth Al waved his claw dismissively. "Probably a comet. Increase sensor range and continue normal operations." He returned to his meal, a living creature from a conquered world that screamed as he ate it. The sound pleased him. 3 million kilometers away, the human fleet waited in the shadow of a dead moon. Admiral Cho Yoonbi stood on the bridge of her command ship, watching the tactical display. The enemy base was visible as a red dot, surrounded by smaller dots representing their ships. "They do not know we are here," said Lieutenant Commander In Taiwan from the communication screen. His squadron of corvettes had spent 2 days mapping the enemy positions without being detected. "What is their patrol pattern?" Yoonbi asked. "Lazy. They send fighters out every 6 hours, but they only check the main approach routes. They are not expecting an attack." Yoonbi nodded slowly. The Valith had grown comfortable. They had forgotten what it felt like to be hunted. She would remind them. "Signal all ships," she ordered. "Operation Black Meridian begins in 2 hours. First wave will launch at 0400. All captains are to maintain radio silence until the attack begins." She turned to Chief Engineer Kang Yuna. "Are the stealth systems ready?" Yuna nodded, though her face showed worry. "The adaptive plating should hide us from their sensors. But this is the first real test. I cannot promise it will work perfectly. Nothing in war works perfectly," Yoonbi said. "We do our best and pray it is enough." The first wave consisted of 6 electronic warfare ships, painted black and running silent. They crept toward the enemy base at low speed, their engines barely producing enough heat to detect. Inside, crews worked in cold and darkness, speaking in whispers as if the enemy might hear them across the void. Captain Lee Seung-ho commanded the lead ship. He was 40 years old, a former signals officer who had spent his career listening to alien communications. He had learned to read the Valith like a book. He knew their codes, their procedures, their weaknesses. "Approaching communication range," his operator said. "Enemy is transmitting on standard frequencies. Begin the jamming sequence," Seung-ho ordered. I want them deaf and blind in 60 seconds. The electronic warfare ships activated their systems. Waves of interference spread through space, drowning out valid signals. On the enemy base, screens filled with static. Officers shouted at each other, trying to understand what was happening. Our communications are down. One of them reported to Commander Veth Al. What? How is that possible? He stood up, knocking over his meal. Get them working again immediately. We are trying, Commander. The interference is coming from multiple sources. We cannot locate them. For the first time in his life, Bethel felt something he did not recognize. It was fear. The second wave arrived 10 minutes later. 20 stealth bombers, each carrying weapons designed to destroy shield generators and weapons platforms. They approached the base from angles the Valeth had never considered defending, coming up from below the plane of the system where no enemy had ever attacked. Chief Engineer Kang Yuna had designed these bombers herself. They were ugly ships, all angles and flat surfaces that scattered sensor beams. But they were deadly. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a cruiser. Target acquisition confirmed. The lead bomber pilot reported. We have firing solutions on all primary defense platforms. Admiral Yumbi's voice came through their radios, calm and steady. Fire. 23 missiles launched simultaneously. They flew through space in perfect silence, leaving no trail, making no sound. The Valeth did not see them until they were already dying. The first missile hit the main shield generator. It exploded in a ball of blue fire that could be seen from 1,000,000 kilometers away. The second hit the command tower. The third destroyed the main weapons array. On the base, chaos erupted. Soldiers ran through corridors as explosions tore the station apart. Ships tried to launch but collided with each other in the confusion. Commander Vethel screamed orders that no one could hear because the communications were still jammed. All stations, all stations. He shouted into a dead microphone. We are under attack. Launch all fighters. Launch everything. But it was too late. The third wave arrived. 73 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light speed in a perfect formation around the enemy base. At the front was the Hammer of Soul, its main weapon already charging. Admiral Yumbi watched the enemy ships scrambling to respond. They were fast and numerous, but they were disorganized. They had never faced an enemy who struck first and asked questions later. This is Admiral Cho Yumbi of the United Terran Coalition. She broadcast on all frequencies. Your base is surrounded. Your communications are jammed. Your shields are down. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated as prisoners of war. Resist, and you will be destroyed. She waited 30 seconds. No response came. Very well, she said. All ships weapons free. The battle that followed lasted 6 hours. Human ships moved in coordinated groups, supporting each other and targeting enemy vessels with precise fire. The Valeth fought back hard, their warriors refusing to surrender even when their ships were burning. Lieutenant Commander M. Taiwan led his corvettes in strike after strike, his small ships darting between larger vessels like wolves hunting deer. He lost 2 ships in the first hour, their crews dead before they could eject. He did not have time to mourn. He pushed forward, trusting his training and his people. Corvette 7, break left. He shouted. Enemy cruiser coming up on your stern. The ship turned just in time, avoiding a beam that would have cut it in half. Taiwan fired his own weapons, hitting the cruiser's engine block. It exploded, sending debris spinning into the darkness. Good kill, his gunner said. That is 12 for us. Keep counting. We are not done yet. On the command ship, Yoon Minji watched the battle on the tactical display. She saw human ships destroyed, their dots vanishing from the screen. She saw Valeth ships burn, their crew dying in the cold of space. She felt sick but forced herself to keep watching. Someone had to remember all of this. "Admiral," she said, "the enemy commander's ship is trying to escape. It is heading for the jump point." Yumbi studied the display. The enemy flagship was running, abandoning its own people to save itself. She felt contempt but also opportunity. "Hammer of Soul, this is Admiral Yumbi. Target the enemy flagship." The dreadnought turned slowly, bringing its main weapon to bear. The solar beam took 30 seconds to charge, energy building in the massive focusing arrays. The crew worked in tense silence, every person knowing that the fate of the battle depended on them. "Target locked," the weapons officer reported. Fire! A beam of concentrated sunlight shot across space. It moved at the speed of light, giving the enemy no time to react. It hit the Valeth flagship dead center, punching through shields that were supposed to be invincible. The ship broke in half, its reactor detonating in a flash that outshone the local star. Commander Vethel died without understanding what had killed him. He died confused, afraid, and alone. Just like Ambassador Park Do-hyun had died. The universe had a sense of justice after all. The remaining Valeth ships tried to flee. Most did not make it. Those that did scattered in all directions, carrying news of the disaster to the rest of the Empire. When the battle ended, the human fleet held Nexus 7. 63 enemy ships were destroyed. The outpost was captured. The way into Valeth space was open. The cost was 11 human ships and 342 lives. Admiral Yumbi stood on the bridge as damage reports came in. She read each name, each ship, each loss. She would remember them all. "We won," Taiwan said, appearing on her screen. His face was exhausted but proud. "This was one battle," she replied. "The war is just beginning. The Emperor will send everything he has to stop us now. Let him try." Yumbi allowed herself a small smile. Let him try indeed. She turned to the communications officer. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them Nexus 7 has fallen. Tell them the Valeth Empire just learned that humanity fights back." Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread. Subject species of the Valeth, beaten down for centuries, heard that someone had finally stood up to their masters. They heard that the newcomers from the small blue world had done what no one else had dared. They began to hope. And in the throne room of the Valeth capital, Emperor Cathal watched the reports in cold fury. His cousin was dead. His outpost was lost. The insects had bitten back. "Assemble the Imperial fleet," he ordered. "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have. I will crush these humans myself. I will burn their world and scatter their ashes among the stars." His advisors bowed and hurried to obey. The Emperor did not know it yet, but he had already lost. Not the war, not yet, but something more important. 6 months passed. The war that the Valeth thought would last a week became something they had never experienced before. The humans did not fight like any enemy they had faced. They did not charge blindly into battle. They did not surrender when outnumbered. They fought smart, they fought hard, and they fought without mercy for the soldiers who had laughed at their ambassador's death. Admiral Cho Yumbi stood in the war room of her flagship, studying the map of conquered territory. 17 Valeth military bases had fallen, 43 warships destroyed, 2 entire fleets scattered and running, but the cost was high. 29 human ships lost. Over 2,000 sailors dead. The numbers haunted her dreams. "The Emperor has consolidated his forces around the inner systems," her intelligence officer reported. "He has pulled back all ships to protect the capital. They are no longer trying to hold the border regions. He is preparing for a final defense," Yumbi said. "He knows we are coming for him." Lieutenant Commander M. Taiwan nodded from his position at the tactical console. He had changed in the past months. The eager young officer was gone, replaced by a hardened warrior who had seen friends die. His eyes were older now. "Our scouts report 600 ships defending the capital system," he said. "Even with our full fleet, we would be outnumbered 4-1. We are not going to win this war with ships alone," Yunbi replied. She turned to Yoon Minji. "What is the status of the liberation broadcasts?" Minji pulled up a report on her screen. After the Battle of Nexus 7, she had proposed a new strategy. Instead of just fighting the Valeth military, they would attack the Empire itself by speaking directly to the species it had conquered. "We have been broadcasting on all frequencies for 4 months," she said. Messages in 47 different languages, all saying the same thing. That the humans are not conquerors. That we fight only the Valeth military. That any species that rises up against their masters will have our support. "Is it working?" Minji smiled, a rare expression these days. "The Kareth people on Nexus 12 overthrew their Valeth garrison last week. The Malori are refusing to work in the weapons factories. Reports say the Jinnith homeworld is close to open rebellion." Yunbi nodded slowly. This was the strategy that had won Earth's own ancient wars. You did not defeat an empire by destroying its armies. You defeated it by taking away everything it stood on. The Valeth had built their power on fear and slavery. Humanity would tear down that foundation one planet at a time. "Continue the broadcasts," she ordered. "And make sure our ships do not attack civilian targets, ever. We must be different from the Valeth. We must show the galaxy that humans protect the innocent." Deep inside Valeth space, Captain Han Seokul led his team through the darkness of an enemy station. They had been operating behind enemy lines for 5 months now, gathering intelligence and sabotaging military installations. 12 people had become 8. 4 good soldiers lost in silent battles that would never be recorded. Tonight, they were hunting something special. "The Emperor's private communication center is on level 47, his tech specialist whispered. "If we can access their network, we can find out where he is hiding." Seokul moved forward carefully, his weapon ready. The station was quiet at this hour, most of the Valeth crew sleeping in their quarters. Guards patrolled the corridors, but they were lazy, unused to threats from within their own territory. A guard turned a corner ahead. Seokul was on him before he could make a sound, his knife finding the gap between the armored plates. The Valeth fell without a noise. "Move," Seokul ordered. They reached the communications center 10 minutes later. 2 more guards died quietly at their posts. The tech specialist, a young woman named Shin Era, began working on the alien computers while the others kept watch. "I am into their system," she reported. "There is so much data here. Fleet movements, supply routes, political communications." She paused, her eyes widening. "Captain, I found something." "What is it?" "The Emperor's generals are arguing with each other. They blame each other for the defeats. Some of them are suggesting that the Emperor is not fit to lead anymore." She looked up at him. "Their empire is breaking apart from the inside." Seokul allowed himself a grim smile. "Download everything. Command needs to see this." But as Era worked, alarms began to sound throughout the station. Someone had discovered the dead guards. "We are out of time," Seokul said. "Everyone moved to the extraction point. Now." They ran through the corridors as Valeth soldiers mobilized around them. Gunfire echoed off the metal walls. One of Seokul's team, a veteran named Oh Junwoo, took a hit to the leg and stumbled. "Leave me," Junwoo shouted. "Get the data out." "No one gets left behind," Seokul replied. He grabbed Junwoo's arm and dragged him forward. "Keep moving." They reached the docking bay, where their stealth shuttle was hidden. Enemy soldiers were closing in from 3 directions. Seokul positioned his people at the entrance, while Era powered up the ship. 30 seconds. She called out. 30 seconds of hell. Energy beams filled the air. Another team member fell, her body spinning as a beam caught her in the chest. Sioku fired and fired, his weapon growing hot in his hands. Ship is ready. They piled aboard. The shuttle lifted off just as Valith's soldiers burst into the bay. Shots bounced off the hull as they accelerated toward space. They made the jump to safety with seconds to spare. Back on the flagship, Admiral Yumbi reviewed the intelligence Sioku had recovered. It confirmed what she had suspected. The Valith Empire was crumbling from within. The subject species were rebelling. The generals were fighting for power. The Emperor was losing control. "We need to end this soon," she said. "Before they recover. Before they unite again." "How?" asked Taiwan. "We still do not have enough ships to assault the capital directly." Yun Minji stepped forward. She had spent weeks analyzing the data, looking for a weakness. Now she had found one. "The Emperor is not in the capital," she said. "He has a secret bunker on a moon in the Velis system. Only his most trusted guards know the location. He has been hiding there since the war began, afraid that assassins might reach him. If we capture the Emperor, the war ends," Sioku said. He had just returned from medical treatment, his wounds bandaged but his spirit unbroken. Without him, the generals will fight each other for the throne. The empire will fall apart. Umbi considered the plan. It was dangerous. It would require splitting their forces, sending a strike team to the bunker while the main fleet distracted the enemy at the capital. If anything went wrong, they could lose everything. But if it worked, they could end the war in a single day. "Captain Saiku," she said, "can you lead a team to the bunker?" He did not hesitate. "Yes, you will have 12 soldiers and 1 stealth ship. No backup. No rescue if you are caught. I understand." She looked at him for a long moment. She saw the pain in his eyes, the weight of everyone he had lost. She saw the determination that had kept him fighting for 6 months behind enemy lines. She saw a man who would not stop until justice was served. "Then prepare your team," she said. "We attack in 3 days." The Valith Imperial fleet gathered around the capital world, 400 ships forming a wall of metal and fire. The generals had finally agreed to work together, at least until the human threat was destroyed. They believed their numbers would be enough. They did not know about the bunker. They did not know about Captain Seoku. They did not know that humanity had one final card to play on the flagship. Admiral Yumbi addressed her fleet one final time before battle. Her image appeared on screens across every ship, seen by thousands of sailors who would soon fight and perhaps die. 6 months ago, the Valith Empire murdered our ambassador. They thought we were weak. They thought we would surrender. They were wrong. She paused, letting her words sink in. "Tomorrow, we end this war. Not with genocide, not with conquest, but with justice. We will capture their emperor. We will free their slaves. We will show the galaxy that humanity does not forget its dead, and we do not let tyrants sleep peacefully in their palaces." She raised her fist in salute. "For Park Doyen. For Earth. For all the species who have suffered under Valith boots. Tomorrow we bring them hope. Tomorrow we bring them freedom. Tomorrow we win." Across the fleet, voices rose in response. A cheer that echoed through metal corridors and reached out into the darkness of space. The sound of humanity, united and unafraid. The final battle was about to begin. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the Valith capital system. 107 ships faced 400 enemy vessels. The mathematics said they should lose. The mathematics had never fought humans before. Admiral Cho Yumbi stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the enemy formation on the tactical display. They had arranged themselves in a classic defensive pattern, a wall of ships protecting the planet behind them. It was a formation designed to stop a direct assault. She had no intention of making a direct assault. Signal all ships, she ordered. Execute pattern broken arrow. Let us see how well they handle chaos. The human fleet split into 7 groups, each one racing toward a different point around the enemy formation. The Valith commanders hesitated, unsure which group to pursue. By the time they made a decision, it was too late. Pattern broken arrow was designed to confuse and divide. The human groups attacked, retreated, and attacked again from new angles. They never stayed in one place long enough to be surrounded. They never gave the enemy a clear target. They are breaking formation, Lieutenant Commander M. Taiwan reported, excitement in his voice. The left flank is moving to pursue Group 3. Tell Group 3 to keep running. Lead them away from the main fleet. The more we spread them out, the easier they will be to destroy. The battle became a dance of ships across millions of kilometers. The Valith had more firepower, but the humans had better coordination. Every human ship knew exactly where it was supposed to be and what it was supposed to do. The Valith commanders shouted conflicting orders, their ships bumping into each other as they tried to respond to threats from every direction. Meanwhile, far from the chaos, a single stealth shuttle slipped past the distracted enemy lines. Captain Han Sioku sat in the shuttle's command seat, watching the battle on a small screen. 12 soldiers sat behind him, the best fighters Earth had to offer. They had trained for this mission for 3 weeks, practicing every possible scenario until they could execute the plan in their sleep. ETA to the bunker moon is 40 minutes, the pilot reported. Siaku nodded. 40 minutes. After 6 months of war, 40 minutes until they faced the monster who had started it all. He thought about Ambassador Park Do-hyun. He thought about the moment in the throne room when the blade fell. He thought about the look in Do-hyun's eyes, defiant until the end. The ambassador had believed in peace. He had believed that even enemies could become friends if given the chance. The emperor had proven him wrong, but Do-hyun had been right about one thing. Humanity did not forget. The shuttle approached the moon's dark side, using the shadow to hide from sensors. The bunker was built into a crater, protected by heavy doors and a small garrison of the emperor's personal guards. Maybe 200 soldiers against 12 humans. Landing zone is clear, the pilot said. Good luck, Captain. They touched down in darkness. The soldiers moved out, their black armor blending with the shadows. Sioku led them toward the bunker entrance, every step careful, every sound controlled. The first guards died without knowing they were under attack. Sioku's team used knives and silenced weapons, clearing the outer perimeter in minutes. They reached the main door and placed charges. On my mark, Sioku whispered. 3, 2, 1. The explosion tore through the door. The team rushed inside, firing at anything that moved. Alarm screamed. The soldiers poured from side corridors, their weapons blazing. A human soldier fell, then another. But the team pushed forward. Sioku moved like a machine, his training taking over. He shot 2 guards, dodged a claw swipe, and shot 2 more. His team cleared room after room, leaving bodies in their wake. They reached the inner sanctum. A massive door blocked their path, twice as thick as the outer entrance. Shin Era, their tech specialist, ran to the control panel. I can hack it, but I need time. You have 30 seconds, Sioku said. He positioned his remaining soldiers at the corridor entrance. 8 left out of 12. The enemy was regrouping, preparing a counterattack. They came in a wave of armored bodies and flashing weapons. Sioku's team held the line, firing until their weapons overheated, then switching to sidearms. A soldier named Park Min-soo took a beam to the shoulder but kept fighting with his remaining arm. Another soldier, Kim Yeji, pulled an injured comrade to safety while shooting at enemies with her free hand. "Door is open," Era shouted. They fell back through the doorway as Sioku threw his last grenade into the corridor. The explosion bought them seconds. They sealed the inner door and turned to face the throne room. Emperor Kethel stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by his elite guards. 10 of them, the biggest and most heavily armored Valis Sioku had ever seen. The Emperor himself wore ceremonial armor covered with the symbols of his conquered worlds. In his hand, he held the blade that had killed Ambassador Doyan. "Humans," the Emperor said, his voice filled with contempt. "You dare enter my sanctuary? You will die here, screaming for mercy like your pathetic ambassador." Sioku raised his weapon. Park Doyan did not scream. He looked you in the eye and told you that you would regret killing him. He was right. "Kill them," the Emperor ordered. The elite guards charged. 7 humans against 10 Valith champions. It should have been a quick slaughter. It was not. Sioku had spent months learning how the Valith fought. He knew their strengths and their weaknesses. He knew the gaps in their armor. He knew that their confidence was their greatest flaw. His team fought like demons. Park Minsu, bleeding from his shoulder, took down 2 guards before he fell. Kim Yeji killed 3, her movements precise and deadly. One by one, the elite guards died. When it was over, 4 humans remained standing. Sioku, Era, Yeji, and a soldier named Choi Jinyuk. They faced the Emperor alone. "You cannot defeat me," Kethel said. He raised his blade, the weapon humming with energy. "I have killed 1,000 enemies with this sword. You are just 4 more." Sioku dropped his gun. He pulled a knife from his belt, the same knife he had used to kill countless Valis soldiers in the past months. "This is for Ambassador Doyan." The Emperor attacked with terrifying speed. His blade cut through the air, missing Sioku by centimeters. The captain dodged and weaved, looking for an opening. Era fired her weapon, but the Emperor's armor absorbed the shots. Jinyuk charged from the side. The Emperor caught him with a backhand swing, sending him flying across the room. Yeji attacked from the other side, her knife finding a gap in the armor. She drew blood before a massive claw grabbed her and threw her against the wall. Sioku saw his chance. While the Emperor was distracted, he lunged forward and drove his knife into the gap beneath the creature's arm. The blade sank deep. The Emperor roared in pain. He swung his weapon wildly, catching Sioku in the chest. The captain flew backward, his armor cracked, his ribs broken. But he smiled through the pain. Because while the Emperor was focused on him, Shin Era had recovered Yeji's knife. She came from behind, silent as a shadow, and drove it into the base of the Emperor's neck. Kethel fell to his knees. The ceremonial blade dropped from his hands. He looked up at the humans who had brought him down, and for the first time in his life, he understood fear. "You cannot kill me," he gasped. "I am the Emperor. I am eternal." Sioku struggled to his feet, blood dripping from his mouth. He picked up the fallen blade, the same weapon that had killed Doyun. "You are not eternal," he said. "You are just another tyrant who thought cruelty was strength. And now you are going to face justice. Not from us. From all the species you conquered. From all the people you enslaved. They will decide your fate." He pressed the blade against the Emperor's throat, just hard enough to draw blood. Then he pulled it back. "Broadcasting to all channels," Era said from the control panel. "The galaxy is watching." Sioku looked into the camera. Behind him, the Emperor of the Valith knelt in defeat. The most powerful being 17 star systems, brought low by 4 wounded humans. "People of the galaxy," Sioku said, "the Emperor has fallen. The war is over. Humanity did not come to your stars as conquerors. We came to answer a crime. A good man was murdered, and we could not let that stand. Now justice will be served, not through revenge, not through slaughter, but through law. The Emperor will face trial for his crimes. Every species he wronged will have their voice heard. This is the way of Earth. This is the way of humanity. In the capital system, the Valith fleet watched the broadcast. They saw their god king on his knees. They saw humans standing over him, and they began to surrender. Admiral Cho Yumbi accepted the surrender with grace. She ordered her ships to stand down and sent medical teams to help the wounded on both sides. She did not celebrate. There was nothing to celebrate. Too many had died, human and Valith alike. But as she watched the enemy ships power down their weapons, she allowed herself one small moment of satisfaction. "We did it, Do-hyun," she thought. "Your death meant something after all." 1 year later, Ambassador Yu Minji stood before the newly formed Galactic Cooperative. 37 species had joined, including several former subjects of the Valith Empire. They met on a space station built in neutral territory, a place where all peoples could gather as equals. She carried a medal in her hand. The Order of Park Do-yoon, awarded to those who sought peace through courage.